I think it's amazing. I mean, you guys know when he walks in the huddle, it's different. This guy's got 6 rings, and yeah, he knows what he's doing. So yeah, there's going to be a ton of confidence in him, not only on offense but on defense. Our defensive players are going to feel the same way, and look forward to going against each other. But yeah, there's a ton of confidence that they automatically bring in. They got a pretty good resume.
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. We're back at you today for episode 121. Training camp is officially underway, and when I tell you this, I cannot be more excited. You know, the tone of the last episode, which, by the way, if you haven't checked that out, you really should. Some of the information's a little dated, but it really is a good football conversation we had with our buddy Taylor Jenkins over at Pewter Report. But the tone of that whole episode was like, well, we don't know if there's going to be a training camp. The NFLPA and the NFL are really far apart on their discussions, and they're coming to an agreement. Well, you know, in classic CFP fashion, we released that episode, and then 2 hours later, a deal is put together, and the NFLPA and the NFL have hashed it out. And as of right now, it looks like we are still slated to have football in the fall. And with that being said, training camp started this week. All players, veterans, quarterbacks, and rookies have reported to One Buc Place. Some of them going to undergo some last-minute testing procedures. And then we've got football on our hands. But welcome back to the show. We're going to get you all caught up on a big week of news for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we're very excited to bring it to you. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. Evan, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited. You know, I get more and more excited as time goes by because for a while we were talking about the uncertainty of things, but now that I'd say the past week, like the restart of sports just as a whole has given me hope. And obviously, you know, the MLB, the Florida Marlins have their situation, the Miami Marlins, excuse me, they're not the Florida Marlins anymore, but that crappy team down south that plays baseball has, you know, their own problems going on right now. But the NBA bubble has been successful. So far, the NHL bubble is looking to be pretty successful. A lot of positive news coming out of the testing from both of those. But just...
Can I tell you why I think the Marlins are like the worst team in all of sports?
Because of Derek Jeter?
Well, partly, but
I think he needs to chalk up some blame on some of this, man.
So, you know, I'm a Phillies fan, as probably most of you listening by now know. So, of course, you know, the Phillies, the Marlins, everybody knows the Marlins are terrible, right? Like, they are just a terrible baseball team. And the Phillies, like, the Marlins are like 13-10 against the Phillies, like in like their last like meetings or whatever. And they're like 52 and 113 against everybody else.
So they always find a way to squeak it out.
And then, not only can they not beat them, they take 2 of 3 from the Phillies on opening weekend in embarrassing fashion, and then they potentially give them a deadly virus. So just great stuff, you know, and now the Phillies can't play until at least Friday. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you a lot, Miami Marlins.
Oh, good Lord. But, you know, it's something that we thought was going to happen. To see it happen in the degree that it did for the MLB, it's a good thing this isn't a baseball podcast, because we could spend the entire hour that we have together talking about this and just how shameful it kind of is. But with that being said, before I move on, I think we need to focus more on the Buccaneer news side of things. Actually, so let's go ahead and move on is what I meant to say there. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my own words here. I haven't done show prep that well in a while.
Hey, it's still like the preseason for us, basically.
I'm saying, dude. So let's get into it. We have actually got some developments, and we are recording fresh off the heels of a Bruce Arians press conference. How about that? And yeah, it was a Zoom call, but he was in one Buck. He had the drop behind him, the backdrop. He had his face mask on, so he was a little muffled. It was hard to understand him, but he dropped some key nuggets of knowledge that we're going to open up the show for you today with. So, first and foremost, Buccaneers did announce this week that their third-round pick, Keyshawn Vaughn, the running back, has been placed on the COVID reserve list. Now, what this means isn't exactly that he tested positive for it, but it means he either tested positive or he came in contact with someone who did. So what it means to be on this list is right now he just needs to quarantine, and since it's still the middle of July, I got a feeling he'll be back ready to go for the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be back, I think, by the time they start doing pads. Yeah, he's not. The only thing he's gonna miss is probably, like any like on field like workouts that some players do, maybe some, lifting weights and stuff. But obviously he can attend like all like meetings like virtually, and like by the time they start doing pads or whatever, he should be fine. But yeah, not an ideal start, but I mean it's all right. And I saw a few people wondering because the Bucs posted on social media all their rookies signing their rookie contracts, and they when they posted Vaughn, he didn't have a mask on, and people were like, "Oh, the only one with potentially the virus isn't the one wearing a mask." Look, he was in his hotel room. Like the rest of the players were in the facility. You have to have a mask on inside the facility.
Exactly.
But in this hotel room, like give him a break. Like he was in his hotel room. Just it annoyed me. I don't know why, but I was like, just stop. Just stop.
Well, and when it comes to stuff like this, and I hate to say it, with how political this whole virus itself has become, it seems like people are always going to have something to say, whether it's good or bad. So you just got to let it roll off of your back, and I'm sure for Keyshawn Vaughn, it's not going to be the first time or the last time in his career that people have, had something to say about his business. But with that being said, yeah, perfect tidbit you brought up there. Buccaneers have officially put pen to paper with every single member of that 2020 draft class. You saw the pictures come out today. Rookies were in one Buck place putting pen to paper, so that is great to see. Draft class has been locked up just in time for training camp. You love to see it. Now, another guy that we talked about last week on the show, we kind of fumbled around with the idea of if he's even going to be there or not, the replacements that could be offered, and he still does have some time to make up his mind, but that's left tackle Donovan Smith. Bruce Arians said in his presser today that he expects Donovan to report on time, at least from everything he's talked to him about, and the knowledge that he has, he's expecting him to report to training camp. There was another report that had come out a few hours before the press conference, kind of reiterating that same thing, said that Donovan Smith is expected to be there regardless of his comments before. So it's still a wait and see period, but as of right now, looking good for Donovan making a comeback for training camp.
Yeah, it does look good, and I mean today you had probably 10, 11 players say like they're opting out,
and I mean 6 or 7 of those played for New England, by the way.
Yeah, they're gonna get Trevor Lawrence. So like Dante Hightower, a lot of people were looking at Dante Hightower's situation. Now Dante Hightower was probably the biggest name today to opt out, and they were looking at his situation, and the reason he opted out is because he just had a kid like 6 weeks ago. Yeah. So people were looking at that and were like, "Oh my God!" Like Donovan Smith is like he's already thinking about potentially opting out because of his kid. Like he's definitely gonna opt out, but according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN and what Bruce Arians said, it does appear that Donovan Smith expected to at least show up to camp and start this thing up.
Yeah.
I'm a little. This MLB thing has me a little bit scared, and I want to go back to that for just a second because, what did I text you yesterday, right? I said basically I would start brainstorming ideas we can do for, like the winter months, because depending on how the MLB reacts to this situation, there would definitely be no football. It doesn't. It's too late, and a lot of people have asked me, well, why can't you just do a bubble? It's too late for a bubble. It's too. If you
it's too late to do a bubble with that amount of people. By the way, let's keep that in mind, because each team in the NFL, you're looking to bubble close to 100 people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that it's not realistic. Okay, so that's not going to work. So the one league without a bubble was the MLB. The NBA has been doing a great job. The NHL is doing a great job. right? Games in the NHL are starting today, exhibition games. The NBA have been doing exhibition games, and there's been 0 positive tests. The MLB was the one where like it was cool because people were able to travel to the home ballparks and play in the home ballparks and stuff. But now all of a sudden, it's in jeopardy. So that's a scary sight for the NFL. If the MLB shuts down before the NFL even gets week 1 underway, I don't see a way the season finishes. However, the good news here, the silver lining, is that it does appear like the MLB is hell-bent on, just sticking with the season and not giving up. So I don't think the NFL is going to give up. I have some more concerns now than I did 2-3 weeks ago.
It definitely is something that concerns me, a red flag that pops up, but kind of like a lot of other things going on in the world of sports right now, I think it's just a wait and see process. Right now it's hard for me to jump on the bandwagon and say, yep, we might as well pack it up because of the MLB. We're not going to have football this season. And I totally get the concerns because, trust me, I'm just as concerned. I try not to act like it, but I am very concerned that we won't have football. But as of right now, we are still slated to have football. So for the rest of the show, I think we're going to talk that direction, assuming that we do have football, because I will say, there are both sides of the story. Again, you brought up how successful the NBA bubble is, the NHL bubble is happening, and, we just kind of have to hope that it translates over to sports who aren't doing that same process. It'll be difficult, and it'll be hard to watch at times, I'm sure, but we'll figure it out, and I think the NFL, just like you said about the MLB, is hell-bent on having a 2020 season, so let's get this S figured out. Some more Buccaneer news from this week, something we can take away from Bruce Arians' Zoom call a little bit earlier, is the status of safety Justin Evans. I believe Greg Allman had shoehorned, it was like a follow-up question. It was very nice because I heard the question that he had asked him first, I don't even remember what it was, and then he says, also, how is Justin Evans doing, by the way? And it was very quick, it was very nice,
Snuck
it was very
it in
to the point. I love to hear that stuff. But with that being said, Bruce says that he expects Justin Evans to start training camp on the PUP list. Evan, what does this mean for him playing at all this season? Do you expect it to happen?
Man, I don't know. If he does, it ain't gonna be for a while. It's not gonna be for until at least like week 4, week 5, maybe. I mean, that's whenever you're put on something like that, it's never a good sign, especially when the Bucs were hopeful that he'd be able to not necessarily go full speed in training camp, but he'd be able to participate in most of camp. And I mean, right now, that's just obviously not going to happen. So, man, it's so tough to say because there's just so little info on it. If Greg doesn't ask that question, is it even brought up? Probably not.
Right.
So it's tough to say. If I had to bet, just easy bet, no, he won't play this year. That's just the easy bet. But I don't know the severity of the injury. I don't know how close he actually is. We'll just have to wait and see. And this whole season, I think it's going to be a lot of wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing I wanted to take from the Bruce Arians press conference before we move on to this agreement that the NFLPA wrote up. Somebody that was brought up that was a pleasant surprise for me was John Franklin. We talked about him a little while ago and maybe what his role would be in this training camp. I think we brought it up either last week or the week before. But he's a guy that we've seen have a little bit of success everywhere. He's been a DB. He's a wide receiver on the Buccaneers roster right now. He can play backup quarterback. They used him in that Wildcat formation end of the year last year, and he had some success in it. They used him as a mock Deshaun Watson when they were scrimmaging, doing walkthroughs before the Texans game. Like, this guy, in a sense, can do it all on the practice field. You don't know how it translates to the NFL because he doesn't have that shot yet. But he was brought up in conversation today, and Bruce said this. He praised the versatility of this guy, the athleticness that he does possess. But it's up to him right now to make this squad as a wide receiver. He said maybe, just maybe, we could see him at that third quarterback spot. But as of right now, in this training camp, we got to see him make this squad at a wide receiver. And I'll be honest, that's a pretty uphill battle.
Yeah. Either wide receiver or linebacker, you're trying to make it there. You're in tough shape. That's not going to be an easy thing. But you got to think. I mean, they're going to carry at most 6, right? So you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller. I would say those 4 are probably the locks.
Yeah.
And then obviously Justin Watson, who's a veteran, they're going to want to keep him. So that's 5 already. So if they're going to keep 6, who gets that last spot, right? Is it, I don't even remember. Like, they signed a bunch of free agent wide receivers too. So, I mean, there's a ton of people there at the position, and that's even if they carry 6, which I don't believe they did last year. So, I mean, he might have to make a play or two, like really stand out in practice. And that's the tough part. You can't make it stand out in preseason because there is none, and that's just gonna be how it works. So I mean, I like him. I like John Franklin. I think he can be not necessarily like an exact like wide receiver, like you line him up, he's running around catching the ball. But I think he can be a good little gadget player for them. He proved, with that Wildcat thing that they did, that, I mean, what was it? It was like a 12-yard gain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a cool little play. I still remember from Last Chance U, the first season, which actually the new season, I believe, premiered today. So,
go check that out.
Little connection there. Yeah, Netflix plug. Where's our sponsorship?
Yeah, right?
I mean, I like John Franklin. I think, like you said, though, it's an uphill battle when you're talking about the wide receiver position. If he was listed at running back, he might have a better shot, maybe. But, I mean, we'll have to see. I don't, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think if the Bucs really play any mobile quarterbacks this season. Patrick Mahomes is a little bit mobile, but, you could use him like that, just like you said. Deshaun Watson. That's a big deal when you can use a guy like that. So he definitely has value. I just don't know if he's going to be able to have a shot.
Yeah, and the importance of what you had just said was bringing up the no preseason, because since last week, part of that NFLPA agreement was they just canceled the preseason. So there are no preseason games. You've got an extended training camp, but the sentiment among a lot of coaches, including Bruce Arians, is you just can't replicate the reps that you missed back in the spring. That's when a lot of your learning is done. You learn in walkthroughs and you learn in OTAs. That's where you really get it all down and get it down to a science to go out there and execute. So with that time being missed, you look at a lot of these undrafted guys who unfortunately just aren't going to get as fair of a shot as they would any other season. And it's the elements of where we are in the world right now, and unfortunately, we just kind of have to wait and see how it plays out. But let's get out of training camp, and let's talk a little bit more about the process of training camp and mostly the agreement that the NFLPA and the NFL agreed to. So really quickly, before we move on into this agreement, here is the acclimation period for training camp this season. July 28th, the day that we are recording this, is the official start date, quote-unquote, for NFL training camp. Here is the acclimation period. You've got 8 days of strength, conditioning, and walkthroughs. You've got 4 days with shells and helmets only. And then you have a maximum of 14 days in pads starting on August 17th. So, somebody had asked Bruce during the conference the importance of getting those live action reps, getting those full hits in, because one, you don't have as much time to adjust your body to taking hits from other guys that are 250, 300 pounds coming at you full speed. But just the importance of not only technique, but technique, cleaning it all up. I think week 1, 2, 3 of the NFL season, you're going to see some plays, but I think you're going to see a lot of ugly football, and that's just kind of where we are right now.
Yeah, that football, there's going to be some plays like you said, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to that because, I don't know, it's something different. Like, and I understand like the purist will be like, oh, this isn't football and stuff like that, because there's going to be a lot of penalties. There's going to be a lot of, like boneheaded plays. But I'm sort of looking forward to it because like a sloppy game, I feel like could be kind of exciting. Because like routine things that normally like you're like, okay, well, this is boring. Like a punt. Right, most of the time the guy's gonna catch the punt. What if he drops it this time?
Right.
Just because, I mean, I don't know. The first 3-4 weeks I think are gonna be exciting. These guys are gonna pick it up quick. They're professionals. They'll pick it, especially they're playing full games. They're not like preseason where you play a drive or 2 drives a quarter. Right, they're gonna be playing full 4 quarters. They're gonna pick it up after 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
But that those first versus New Orleans, versus Carolina. Who's our week 3 game? Oh my God, I don't Denver, San Diego. Oh, sorry, not San Diego, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Those first 4 games, they could be kind of, I don't want to say funny, but that's like the one word I'm going to use. Entertaining, like very entertaining, more entertaining than normal, NFL game, I should say. Just because
I would say that
I think it adds more unpredictability if they're like sloppy.
I think for anybody who is unaccustomed to sloppy football, for a long time, the Bucs were referred to as the best bad team in the NFL. And that's because they had moments where they played great football, and then they had moments where you would have sworn 10 of the 11 starters had just completely forgotten what sport they were playing.
I still are, but...
So with that being said, I think the rest of the league...
Still are.
If you want to be honest, I think the rest of the league is going to get a little sample size of what some really bad Tampa Bay football looks like, because we talk sloppy football. I think if there's anything that we have been shooting ourselves in the foot with in Tampa for the past, 20 years, it's been sloppy football. So I am a little excited to see it, but it'll definitely be interesting to see guys like Tom Brady translate.
The penalty flags after 2-3 plays, every 2-3 plays, it's going to be frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
But
it'll definitely be something.
Like, there'll only be, just like you said, like, most teams are going to be sloppy, and there's going to be a handful of teams. Like, maybe, like, the Chiefs, the Saints, the Ravens, like, those, like, elite teams probably won't be as sloppy as others. But, like, dude, watch some, like, Bengals games or something.
God, why would I do that,
the Washington football team. Well, watch some of those games, and just it could be a comedy show.
The Washington football team. You got it, buddy. So let's get into the details of these deals that were struck. This one regarding training camp. The NFL and NFL Players Association came to an agreement last week on several issues that led to the start of training camp for the 2020 season. Among those items were opt-out provisions due to COVID-19 and the future of the salary cap after this season. The NFL and the NFLPA had already agreed on canceling the preseason and reducing the training camp rosters from 90 players down to 80. Teams have until August 16th to reduce their current rosters to meet that 80-player limit. Now, when it comes to testing procedures regarding training camp, testing procedures have already been agreed to. The NFL quarterbacks and rookies were tested for COVID on Thursday, July 23rd. They were tested again on Sunday, July 26th. Hopefully those players pass those tests, and if they do, they are allowed to attend meetings, workouts, and any other activity at the team's headquarters and practice facilities for next week. So, for the Bucs, seems like Keyshawn Vaughn is our only casualty of that rule, but everybody else has been recording, and I haven't heard any other bad news out of One Buc Place regarding those testing procedures. The veterans reported for testing on July 28th. They come back for additional testing on Wednesday, July 29th, and then again on Friday, July 30th. If the veterans pass all 3 tests, then they are allowed to attend meetings, workouts, and any other activity at the team's headquarters and practice facilities the first week of August. And there's a temporary IR for a COVID-positive player, and placement is immediate. His return is subject to medical clearance. A team may move up a practice squad player to replace him, but then they can move that player back to the practice squad with no waivers required. So a little bit of adjustments, and then that's mostly for the operation of training camp and, of course, the COVID-19 opt-out option. But let's get into a little bit more of the information on the deal that they struck about the season. So, the NFL and the NFLPA Executive Committee have agreed upon all the major pieces of the return to play plan. It includes a salary cap floor of $175 million in 2021, and then the cap smooth through 2023, and benefit reductions through that same year, 2023. A big thing that I saw, no play, no pay in 2020. In reference to no play, no pay, that means if games are canceled, then players just simply won't get paid. The NFL and NFLPA leadership have allowed for opt-outs with a stipend. The players will have to decide within the next 10 days if they are going to opt out. So obviously, it's not 10 days anymore since the day of recording this. I want to say it is 5 or 6, but those guys choosing to opt out, as more and more do come out and opt out over the past few days, they've still got a few days to decide if they really want to do it or not. But what do you make of this agreement that they got moving forward? Do you think it ultimately makes it easier on everybody else?
I mean, it makes it easier. There's obviously different protocols in place for each league, and this is the NFL's version. And I think some of them are good. I think they're trying to do it. It's tough because at the end of the day, the biggest risk that you're going to be taking is playing the actual game. It's not necessarily, in the building. It's when you put on the pads and you start making contact with other people.
Yeah.
That's the riskiest part, but that's the part they can't get rid of. So that makes it tricky. So I think they've done a good job of, and I'm sure there are probably more protocols for the regular season. I'm sure there's going to be no handshakes or no high fives or
no jersey swaps. We know about that one.
Yeah, no, maybe no group celebrations for touchdowns and stuff like that.
God, man, that hurts my heart.
It's so. I mean, I would expect those to come out, as we get closer. I think there's going to be a little bit more restrictions put on because there has to be. I think they have a solid plan. It's just I'm not sure. It's just the nature of how the game is played. I'm just not sure if you're going to be able to do it. That's the boat I'm in right now, to where I'm just not 100% sure because there's no way to avoid playing football without contact, right?
Yeah.
Even two-hand touch, you're making contact with the person. Flag football, if you're playing the game of football, you're always going to make contact with somebody. So there's just no way to avoid that, and that's the scariest part. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of people opt out.
Yeah.
I think, they're concerned about, what if I get in the building, around guys and contract it to my family? They know that they're going to have to put on the pads and helmet to even play. And, the no play, no pay, man, I don't necessarily like that. I feel like them getting no money I understand that if the season's not happening, it would basically be like you're not working and you're not getting any money. But man, just these guys sign contracts and with guaranteed money, and I think they should get something. Maybe not their full salary, but I mean, come on.
I think what that rule in particular kind of follows is that pattern of these NFL owners wanting to dip their toe in and kind of just pick up lost revenue from, the people that are not going to be sitting in the stands, from the TV money that's not going to be coming in from Monday Night Football because you don't have a stadium packed full of people. So it's, stuff like that. I can imagine they're trying to recoup their losses, but I do definitely see the angle that you're taking on players just not getting that guaranteed money, and I'm with you. I've said it before here on the show. I think players in the NFL deserve all the money that they have coming to them. I'm not ever going to sit here and say, well, this player shouldn't get this money because da-da-da-da-da. I mean, if you're a quarterback who threw 30 picks and you're asking for 30 mil, then that's a little different. But you know what I mean here in the sense. I'm a player's guy. And, going back to that, I'm a player's guy. If one of these players decides to opt out... Dude, we just have to go past it. That's all we do. If we spend more time on it, more people are going to notice that I said it, and then nobody's going to watch the show anymore. But with that being said, if one of these guys decides to opt out because of their own safety, whatever the case may be, all you can do is respect it. There's, it's a choice. It's their choice. That's what it boils down to. And I think Bruce said that actually today in his conference.
He did.
It's their choice. All you got to do is respect it. It's...
Yeah.
And
there could be some coaches to opt out. There definitely could be.
Yeah.
Bruce Arians will not be opting out, but there could be some coaches to opt out. Bruce Arians was asked in this press conference if he potentially is going to sit in a booth, and he said no.
He laughed and he said
he had
no.
the option.
He's like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be coaching from a booth.
Yeah, but he had the option to, but he doesn't want to do that. But yeah, there would definitely be probably no head coaches. I wouldn't expect any head coaches to opt out, but some trainers and some assistant coaches, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think you could see them opt out. I think everybody in the NFL has the right to opt out. I don't think it's just the players.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, if they decide to opt out, all you can do is respect it. If Donovan Smith decides not to play football tomorrow, then we're not going to come here on the show and trash him for it. We'll talk about his decision. We'll give our thoughts on it, but I'm not going to crap on the guy.
If we hear that you call out, sick for a day, and say that, you're not going to be coming back for a week because, you're concerned about your safety, or you're concerned about something at your workplace, we're not going to call you up on your phone and criticize you for it. And you shouldn't either, because, this is their at the end of the day, they're still living life.
Yeah, they're other human
beings. They're not robots, okay? These are not robots. That's in 15 years when the NFL replaces all humans with robots. But they are not robots here that are just going to go out and do what they need to do. Yes, they want to play, but they also want to be as safe as possible. And in Donovan Smith's case, he is a newborn baby. Right now, that's priority one. I don't care about football if you're talking about that, right? I could care less about football if he seriously thinks that he's gonna, he could potentially contract it, and then that could, the kid can get it. The kid definitely can get it. You don't know, and it could, at the early stages of the baby, that could do some really good damage. So, at the end of the day, this isn't something to be criticizing people for. And luckily, I haven't really seen it too much. Anybody that's opted out, like Marquise Goodwin, the Eagles wide receiver, opted out today. He is a kid. I think it's a little bit older, like 11 or 12 months. But his wife has had 3 miscarriages, so they don't want to take any chances.
Yeah,
which is a 100% fine. It's their right to do. And you know what? If you don't want to play, support them. It's not like if there was no virus going on, they said no, okay, yeah, then sure, right? Then you can trash them. But there's a serious issue going on in America, in the world right now. And this isn't something to be making fun of people. And I've seen a lot of people, oh man, I hope he does opt out. Why? So you want him to opt out, but you don't want, you don't want to see Tom Brady get killed, because that's what would happen.
And that's the thing too, is that I wanted to say this a little bit earlier when we had mentioned it. Donovan Smith and his choice, as of what we've heard right now, as of what the reports say, and Bruce Arians said,
big addition.
Oh, dude, it's huge. Like, I don't think people understand how big it is to have your starting left tackle, because, he is the most crapped on guy on the team. He's Donovan Smith. He's a guy who has some lowlights, but he's not as bad.
Once Joe McCoy left, it was Jameis Winston. Then once Jameis Winston left, it was Donovan Smith.
The first name that Bruce said when asked about Donovan Smith not playing, they brought up replacements. He said, yeah, well, Joe Haig has played over there a little bit. I think he brought up a guy like Brad Seaton playing over there. He didn't necessarily say that Tristan Wirfs would just make the jump to left tackle and everything would be hunky-dory. Yeah, he's got experience playing over there, but you're going to take an experienced guy like Joe Haig over the rookie.
You're trying to teach Tristan Wirfs right now how to be a pro. And this is your first time you get him in the building. This is the first time Tristan Wirfs has been in the building. So, yeah, that's a tough ask. But also, if Donovan Smith does opt out, the Bucs would get more cap space for this season.
They would.
So that could be significant, and they could potentially look to sign somebody. Maybe not necessarily a left tackle, but maybe, I don't even want to say this, but maybe they jump into the Jadeveon Clowney sweepstakes. Something like that, Obviously, it only depends on if he opts out. But I hope he doesn't opt out, because right now Donovan Smith on this team is more important than a Jadeveon Clowney. So
very much so.
They would get more cap space. Obviously, Jason Peters is no longer available, but DeMar Dothan's still out there. I still believe there's some people out there. Obviously, I wouldn't take Rhett's advice and sign Greg Robinson if I were them, but I still think there are plenty of options to go around.
Man.
We'll just have to see how it all plays out. Like I said, the Bucs aren't out of the clear yet. It's not like Donovan Smith's definitely playing, but it's a very encouraging sign that it sounds like he's going to report to camp. So
no, you're right. And I think one more thing we need to mention before we move on to our last story of the show here today is that unless Donovan Smith opts out, I think it's safe to say that the Bucs are not going to be adding any more free agents throughout the rest of this offseason. You sign the rest of the draft class. That's the rest of the cap space that you had. And I think we're pretty much solid on what this Bucs team is going to look like on the field in 2020, unless, of course, Donovan Smith opts out. But that's a whole nother episode. If it happens, we'll talk to you about all the things the Bucs can do, what they might do. And again, we'll just wait and see. Maybe that's the name of the episode, is we'll wait and see. One more feel-good story before we get out of here. We got a little bit of beef on Twitter. And you know me, man, I love some good beef on Twitter. Don't we all? That's why I use the damn platform. I still sometimes cannot believe that it's free. But a little earlier this week, LA Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen wrote on Twitter that he believes he should be ranked higher, and he named 3 players: Tyreek Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whom Allen believes all of those guys are too high if they're in the top 70. This is the tweet. Okay. I'm tired of biting my tongue. He said biting as in like biting, like past tense. Okay, I'm tired of biting my tongue. At Cheetah, Tyreek Hill, at Mike Evans 13, and at Chris Goodwin, and the list goes on, are not a better wide receiver than me. Faster than me every day of the week, but separation, child, please. I am better. Well, you know, if you come out and you say something about Mike Evans.
Bro, he didn't, like, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, and Chris Goodwin were minding their own business. And
Right.
Keenan Allen just comes out of nowhere and just tags them all. Like,
Poor
what
Chris
are those
Goodwin's
guys?
like working his
Especially
shift at
Chris
Publix.
Goodwin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Goodwin's like bagging groceries at Publix, and his phone just starts vibrating for 15
Yeah.
minutes straight. So
Yeah, and then he gets all the texts, oh, Tyreek Hill wants to go one-on-one with you. Ah,
right,
come on.
yeah,
Stop it.
yeah. So first things first, he got Chris Goodwin's name wrong. First things first, if you're going to come out and you're going to say something about Big Mike Evans, he's going to have a rebuttal. He's kind of been a guy who has shown before he's not afraid to stand his ground, and he's not afraid to speak his mind about, one, not only how good he thinks he is compared to the rest of the league, but two, how good he thinks everybody else is. And this was the response from our wide receiver one, Mike Evans. He said, "You tagged the wrong Chris Godwin. And don't be mad at us. We don't make the rankings, and we don't care about them. I like the confidence, but be realistic. You are not on my level, bro." And
Everything he said there was a fact.
I'm
They don't sit there and make the list. They don't care about the list, and he's not on his level. So,
well, if you're a guy like Mike
and
Evans or Chris Godwin, you don't care about that list. But if you're Michael Thomas or Keenan Allen, apparently you're just, sitting around on your phone waiting to tweet everybody about how upset and disgruntled you are.
I will say one thing. I do think at this current stage, Keenan Allen is better than Chris Godwin.
Oh, God damn.
I believe he is.
I think 50 people just tuned out of the show because you said that.
Well.
You're gonna. Listen. I'm not gonna let you off the hook. I'm gonna let you have your opinion, but you have to give me like some good details as to why.
I just look at stats. Like Chris Godwin isn't a finished
Over
product.
the past three
Chris Godwin
seasons,
isn't a finished product.
over the past
yet.
3 seasons, Keenan Allen has 18 touchdowns. Chris Godwin has 17.
Okay, he's not a finished product yet. That's why I'm saying he's a more. I'm looking at the whole body of work, not just the last 3 seasons. Okay, and yes, it is. Keenan Allen does have an advantage. Really, he does because he's been in the league longer. Of course,
He's had Phillip
obviously.
Rivers.
Okay, well, Godwin said slinging Jameis Winston, baby. What do you mean?
Well, when it comes to the comparison of Mike
The
Evans to
greatest
Keenan
quarterback,
Allen, that's what I
greatest
meant.
quarterback ever.
Right?
Jameis
Yeah.
Winston.
Yeah.
But I think like Mike Evans is better than Keenan Allen. There, 50 people can tune back in. So
I think Mike Evans is head and shoulders better than Keenan Allen. I think they're on 2 different tiers of wide receivers when you talk about those two guys.
Here's the thing that I struggle with and why I didn't really argue with this as much. Keenan Allen is out there in LA. I've probably seen, when they're not playing the Bucs, I've probably seen the Chargers play football about 4 times in the last 3 years.
So is the rest of their fans. Don't worry.
Wow. What did they do to you? You're taking shots today. So
Am I?
basically, it's just like the Chargers fans did nothing to you. You Keenan Allen, the Chargers fans, they did nothing to you, and you just attacked them.
Well, Chargers fans don't listen to our show for a reason, so I guess if they had one, they're going to tune out
Because
now.
they're Chargers fans.
Hmm.
They're just upset because they didn't get Tom Brady. It's okay.
That is
Just leave
true.
it-
Tom Brady did have to look at LA's wide receiver core, compare it to Tampa Bay, and make that decision for himself. So I guess I'll just leave
nothing
it
to
at
do
that.
with Tampa Bay being on the East Coast. Nothing. It just had the wide receiver core. That's all it had to do with.
Oh, man. Let me have a little bit of fun. I get a little biased here on the show. That's the whole point of it. We are a fan podcast. I think Chris Godwin's better than Keenan Allen, regardless of him not being a finished product or not. I get the point that you're coming from, and I totally get it. And I'll be honest with you. I want to see Chris Godwin be a number 1 wide receiver for a team. I think he can do it. I think he can do it for 31 teams in the NFL. But
Well, once Mike Evans leaves in 3 years, like I said he would.
yeah. Okay, whatever. But Chris Godwin actually eventually jumped onto this tweet as well, and he replied, he's like, all right, man, I didn't know you felt that way, but Chris Goodwin's not better than me either. So,
Keenan Allen's not better than Chris Goodwin. Chris Goodwin could smoke Keenan Allen.
You think so?
You
Think
put
so?
Chris Goodwin at corner and Keenan Allen at wide receiver, it's done. Did you see Chris Goodwin's profile picture?
No, I did not.
Come on, I'm gonna look it up here. I'm gonna describe what his profile picture exactly looks like. Okay. So
Here come
I'm
the
going
dogs
to-
like they do at the end of every episode. Thanks for listening to us, by the way. If you're still here at the 40-minute mark, you can hear my dogs in the back downstairs.
That's like probably once an episode. Chris Goodwin's profile picture. For one, his thing is just at Chris Goodwin, so you know he's serious.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got no cover. He's got no cover photo, right? He tweeted 5 minutes ago. LOL, what a day. His first tweet since 2013. He's back.
We got the live updates too. Our official Chris Goodwin coverage is kicked off here on CFP.
He's got to come on the show.
Right, we kind of have to at this point.
His profile picture is him on like a 4-wheeler.
Show it
So
up on the
don't mess
show it
around.
up on the Skype cam there, so our viewers can get a visual reference.
See if you guys no.
Oh, your background's all blurry because you got them beautiful screen
No,
effects.
it's not blurry, but it's just.
I can
you
kind of make
sorta
it
see
out.
it.
Looks
Kinda
like
make
him
it
and
out.
one
He's
other
sitting there on
person.
a 4-wheeler. He's cool though. He's sitting on a 4-wheeler with a honey, and he's sitting there and he's minding his own business. And here's Keenan Allen on a Sunday, a Monday. This is midnight. This is past midnight on Monday, and Keenan Allen just wants to add him. So, you know what? When you get shut down, don't complain. That's all.
So, Evan, I'm going to let you have your opinions, even though they are wrong. But with that being said, I just wanted to sneak in some Twitter beef there. I know everybody thought it was entertaining. If you have any thoughts on the show, make sure you leave a comment down on our comment section on YouTube. If you're watching us with video, we do appreciate you. And, of course, if you're listening on any of our podcast platforms, we do appreciate you there as well. With that being said, I think that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching with video over on YouTube. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you are notified whenever we release a new episode of the show. And of course, you will be notified whenever we go live. We do some live call-in shows every now and again. We're planning to do some of those for the season coming up, so be prepared for that. You can follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Over there, you can get Buccaneer news and updates on the show. Anything changing, you're going to hear it over there first. With that being said, you can follow myself on Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, Rhettakus. If you follow me, I promise I'll follow you back. And you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is at Evan NFL, and Instagram is Bucs Daily. How about that little name change action for you? So no longer Bucs Wave, Bucs Daily. I dig it.
Yes, sir.
I was waiting for the explanation behind the name.
Okay. Well, so okay, I can give you a short one. So basically, Wave is a company that I've been working for, obviously. So that's why the name was Bucs Wave. And a lot of people ask me like, why not Bucs Football? 2 reasons. One, technically, like I was told, it kind of like infringes on like the team brand, kind of. And also,
get that
Bucs
cease
Football
and desist letter in the mail, boy.
Yeah, that's not what I want. I don't want it to be Evan Wanish versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though I could probably beat them. But because everybody else in the NFL can beat them, so why can't I?
Oh Jesus Christ! Why are you taking shots on your own team? I'm taking shots today. Good Lord.
So basically, yeah, I just. And also Bucs Football was like, it was already taken by like a bot, I think, because they literally had one post from 2018 and it was just their logo. That was it.
No, Jesus.
So I was like, okay. So then I decided, I looked around at a bunch of other pages from other teams. I was like, Bucs Daily doesn't sound bad. So I came out with a cool logo and here we are. So a new era of Buccaneer, football and fan page coverage, basically. I knew that obviously it was going to be an important season with, with all the changes they made, and I figured why not make a change, myself. So
hell yeah, new era, and make sure you go check them out. Instagram at Bucs Daily, 24,500 followers, looking to hit that 25K mark before the official start of the season.
I'm stuck right now, guys. I'm stuck.
You hit a plateau right
25.
before the season, but I'm telling you, once we see some pictures come out of these guys in their practice uniforms,
Right.
that's when everybody's numbers are going to go back up, and I'm very, very excited. Training camp is officially underway, which means your CFP coverage is really only going to ramp up from here, and we're very, very excited to bring it to you. I am Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. We appreciate you guys listening to our show or watching us right here on YouTube, and we'll catch you next time. Go Bucs!